Thinking about getting solar? You'll want to stay on and watch. If you live in an existing home, like we are, you may not have solar panels in place. You see, we've represented clients this past year in 2023, and many of those families basically bought a brand new home. And now in California, it is required that all new homes have to come with solar panels. Did you know that? So that's kind of cool, right? It takes the guesswork out of it. You figure out the financing, whether it's bundled into the purchase of the home or however it's structured. The solars are part of the new home. But for those of us, like us, who live in a 20-year-old home, we got solar. A few years ago, we got solar panels on our home, and we are so happy with the way the bills look, with the ability to just, blast the AC in the summer and crank up the heater whenever we want to, and so on and so forth, right? And the bills are just beautiful. It's glorious. Well, if you are considering getting solar panels on your existing homes, I want to give you 3 tips that you should consider before you get your solars on. So the reason that I want to tell you this is because I've gone through this experience with some of our clients who had solar panels put on their home, and I think some pre-investigative work could have been done, but of course nobody told them. Certainly not the solar companies advised them of this. So here are the 3 tips that I think would be completely, absolutely necessary for you to consider before you order the solars. Tip number 1, investigate the condition of your roof. Your roof should be inspected. And I don't mean just by the solar company. You should hire an independent roof inspector to inspect your roof. Pay the fee, let them give you the report, because in any credible roof report, it should tell you the approximate age of the roof, because when you bought the house, you may not know how old the roof is, right? If you're not the original owner who put the roof on. The important thing is you want to find out the age of the roof and the current condition of the roof. If you have tile roofs, there may be some broken tiles, some loose tiles that need to be tightened up before you get the solar panels installed. If you have, let's say, composite shingles, you want to find out the age of the roof. Typically, so now I'm going to speak in the general term, okay? When you either lease or purchase the solar, especially if you lease, the solar leases are usually 20 to 30 years, possibly. If you purchase, there's a warranty that comes with the solar, and they're usually around 20 years. So now you have to check with the solar company that you're working with on these terms, okay? But if you are, let's say your roof is 15 years old, and if it's a composite shingle type roof, the average roof life is about 25 to 30 years, and then it would need to be replaced. Well, if your roof is already 15 years old, and then you're gonna find out the approximate age when you get the roof inspection done, that means in 10 years, maybe 15 years if you pushed it, the roof is going to need to be replaced. I hope you know where I'm going with this. Well, if your roof is already 15 years old and the solar has been on there for, let's say, 10 years, and the roof starts to leak, guess what happens? In order to replace the roof, if it can be repaired, that's great, but it's at the end of its life, you've got solar panels sitting on the roof, which means you can't replace it without removing the solar panels, which cost money to dismantle. That wasn't part of what you purchased or leased the solar panels with. This is the additional cost that you would have to incur to get the solar panels removed, do whatever you need to do with the roof, replace it, repair it, what have you, put the solar panels back on. There's a cost to that. So you want to make sure you understand these consequential possible costs that you may incur, right? So the important thing is that you want to make sure you try to match the remaining life of the roof with the life of the solar panels. If you have a brand new roof and you're getting the solar panels on, you're probably in most cases, you're pretty set. But when you have a roof that maybe is older and it's going to need replacement at some point, you may need to consider that and factor that into when you put the solar panels on. Now, tile roofs in general, the shelf life is longer, between 40 to 50 years, right? So with tile roofs, you have a better lifespan to have the solar panels on. So that's really important, especially if you decide 10 years later you want to sell the house. Because when they have the roof inspection, the buyer of your house have the roof inspection and the roof is at the end of its life, there's solar panels on it, it could turn into a whole other negotiation piece that you would need to go through and factor in the additional cost, because most buyer will not make a purchase on a house knowing the roof is at the end of its life and there's solar panels on top of it, which is additional cost. Factor number 2, who will be your solar panel provider? This is important because you want to do your research just like anything else. If you buy a car, if you buy a house, if you are, whatever you're doing, right? I mean, the good thing about the society that we're in is we're very reviews driven. There's Yelp, there's Google reviews, and so on and so forth. You want to do research on the company that you're talking to. Make sure that they're reputable, make sure that they've been around, all of the things. I know that the solar company that we chose, we had done research on it. Our great friend also had done like exhaustive research on various companies. So we know that we chose the company that's going to be around, that's going to provide after installation services. You want to make sure that the relationship continues beyond once the solar panels are put on. You can actually go back to them and ask questions. I mean, I know that I have, and I'm in the real estate industry, and I still have questions, and I still want to do a few other things. So I made sure that it was a company that was going to provide services for us afterwards. Factor number 3, you may want to consider, this is our personal experience, this is my own personal recommendation, okay? You may want to consider installing what we call bird guards or critter guards. Those are the little netted pieces that basically shield living things, a lot of times they're pigeons, that like to go and live underneath your solar panels. What happens is that, when they go and they're droppings and they set up, dwelling under your solar panels, their droppings and other things they're acidic, and they could actually sever the wiring of the solar panels. So it could be a major damage thing that you don't want to get into. So we had our solar panels shielded, installed soon after the solar panels were installed. And I have heard this from many, and I learned it just from, other people who had issues after they had solar panels installed for years, a number of years, and they're starting to have issues with the solar panels not operating well, and it turns out there are critters and birds living underneath the panels. So you want to make sure that you want to invest a little bit more and get the shields on. If you know how to do it, that's great, but there are many companies now, and they market, and again, you want to check the reviews, that are installing these shields for the solar panels. I hope this is helpful to you. Feel free to email me if you want more information about our thoughts on some solar companies. Well, no, we don't have a lot of thoughts about a lot of companies. We can share with you the company that we had selected and that we're happy with, and happy to share that with you. Happy solar shopping. If you're enjoying the content, you want to make sure you hit subscribe and the bell notification so you don't miss future videos. And by liking and subscribing and commenting, you are supporting the channel so that we can get this great content out to more people out there, more eyeballs to see this. Thanks for your support.